a race of aliens, warriors created with a single purpose: to conquer and destroy planets. One of these beings was sent to Earth with the objective of eliminating and conquering all its inhabitants. But due to his different upbringing, Goku becomes friendly. Even being of a low class, he achieved powers never before seen, to the point of becoming the greatest warrior the planet Earth had ever witnessed. But new threats emerge, far larger, more dangerous, and more powerful than anything Goku had ever faced. New warriors from the same planet as Goku will appear. Let's follow Goku's new journey alongside his companions, facing out-of-this-world threats and new, even more powerful villains. This is a complete summary of Dragon Ball Z, an incredible anime that has marked generations worldwide. I believe it was largely responsible for the popularization of anime around the globe. This summary took a lot of work, but the result turned out incredible. I hope you enjoy it. If you can leave a like or a comment, it will help a lot in getting the video out to more people. And now, let's get into the summary. Goku had faced a long and difficult journey, and his greatest rival Piccolo was defeated at great cost. After the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, Piccolo swore revenge and promised to one day conquer the Earth. Goku married Chi-Chi, paving the way for new adventures, which were set to take place around 5 years later. That time passed, the Earth was living through a period of peace. During that interval, Goku had a son with Chi-Chi, son Gohan, a name chosen in honor of Goku's adoptive grandfather. However, this calm was about to be shattered with the arrival of a new threat, a warrior from outer space, belonging to the same race as Goku. His name was Raditz, and he revealed something shocking. Goku was actually named Kakarot, and Raditz was his biological brother. Upon his arrival, Raditz crossed paths with Piccolo, making it clear how vast the gap was between the power of the Saiyans and that of Earth's warriors. Without any effort, he dominated Piccolo, whose power level barely reached 310 ki units. Raditz then detected an even higher ki, that of Goku, who was at Master Roshi's house with Gohan. Upon finding them, Raditz revealed Goku's true origins. He was a Saiyan, a race of warriors who conquer planets by sending babies to distant worlds. These babies, once grown and transformed into great apes, were capable of exterminating all life on a planet, preparing it for sale to other races. Raditz also revealed that Planet Vegeta, home of the Saiyans, had been destroyed, leaving only 4 survivors, including Goku. Even in the face of these revelations, Goku refused to ally himself with his brother and complete the mission of exterminating the Earth, which had originally been his purpose when he was sent there as a baby. Faced with this refusal, Raditz defeated Goku with ease and kidnapped Gohan, using the boy as leverage. Goku naturally refused to accept the threat. After Raditz's departure, Piccolo reappeared. Aware of the danger, he proposed a temporary alliance with Goku to face their common enemy. Using the Dragon Radar developed by Bulma, they managed to track Raditz, since Gohan's hat carried one of the Dragon Balls. During his captivity, Gohan seemed like just a frightened ordinary child, but in a moment of rage, he released a burst of energy exceeding 700 ki units. For comparison, at that point, Goku had a power level of 416, Piccolo had 408, while Raditz boasted around 1100 units. The battle began. Goku and Piccolo used their most powerful techniques, the Kamehameha and the Special Beam Cannon, but Raditz resisted without much difficulty. At a critical point in the fight, Goku managed to grab Raditz's tail, the weak point of Saiyans, and immobilized him completely. Taking advantage of his disadvantage, Raditz begged for his life, promising to leave the planet and never return. Goku, with his pure heart, believed his brother's words and let him go. However, Raditz had only been pretending. As soon as he was free, he counterattacked Goku violently, revealing he never had any intention of keeping his promise. At that moment, Gohan exploded in fury again, destroyed the pod, and reached an impressive power level, exceeding 1,300, surpassing even Raditz himself, and managed to deal some damage to the villain. However, this energy peak was short-lived, and Raditz quickly recovered, managing to knock the boy unconscious. With no alternatives, Goku sacrificed himself. He held Raditz with all his strength and asked Piccolo to launch his finishing attack. Piccolo did not hesitate and fired the Special Beam Cannon, piercing both of their chests. The blow was fatal. Goku and Raditz died together. Before dying, Raditz left behind a worrying revelation. All the information he had gathered on Earth had been transmitted to 2 even more powerful Saiyans, Nappa and Vegeta. Upon learning about the Dragon Balls, magical artifacts capable of granting any wish, the 2 were immediately interested. With that, they decided to head for Earth, expected to arrive in 1 year. Shortly after Goku's death, something unusual happened. His body simply vanished. Piccolo realized this was probably part of some plan by Kami, Earth's guardian. Without wasting time, Piccolo took Gohan with him to train the boy, preparing him for the imminent threat. But where did Goku go? In fact, Kami led him to the other world, where Goku met King Yama, the great judge of souls, responsible for deciding whether each spirit goes to heaven or hell. Kami interceded and asked that Goku keep his physical body so he could travel along Snake Way to meet King Kai of the North, where he could train and increase his power even further. Goku accepted the challenge, but with one condition, that they not bring him back to life before the 1-year deadline. Meanwhile, Raditz went straight to hell. Back on Earth, Gohan began his training. Piccolo left the boy alone in the wild forest, forcing him to survive on his own, facing dangers and learning to fend for himself, a harsh but effective method. During this time, on a full moon night, which had apparently been restored by Kami, Gohan ended up transforming into a great ape, just as Goku had done in the past. His power increased dramatically, to the point that Piccolo would have had no chance if he tried to fight him. Faced with this, Piccolo destroyed the moon again and cut off Gohan's tail, preventing future uncontrolled transformations. While Gohan was adjusting to the new training, Nappa and Vegeta continued their journey through space. On one of the planets where they landed, they realized it had no value, and, without hesitation, Vegeta completely destroyed it, annihilating all life present. In a lighter, more comedic moment, Goku accidentally fell off Snake Way and ended up in Hell, where he faced a blue ogre and even tasted the legendary Devil's Fruit, something belonging to King Yama. After that brief adventure, Goku returned to the path and resumed his journey toward King Kai's planet. Meanwhile, at Kami's lookout, other Earth warriors Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Chiotsu, and even Yajirobe gathered to train. Kami took them to a special dimension where they faced simulations of 2 low-level Saiyans, even though they were considered among the weakest from the old planet Vegeta. The illusory enemies easily defeated the group, serving as a warning about how dangerous the real threat would be. Goku finally arrived at King Kai's planet, a small world with gravity 10 times greater than Earth's. There, he underwent rigorous training, adapting to the intense gravity to dramatically increase his speed, strength, and endurance. During this period, Goku learned 2 techniques that would become iconic throughout Dragon Ball Z, the Kaioken, which temporarily multiplies his physical capabilities, and the Spirit Bomb, a powerful energy sphere created from the life force of all living beings around him. This last technique would prove essential in future battles. While Goku was strengthening himself, Earth was preparing for the worst. The 2 Saiyans finally arrived on the planet, driven by greed and a thirst for power. Nappa, without hesitation, devastated East City, demonstrating his full brutality. Goku was finally resurrected, but was still on his way to the battlefield. Using their scouters, the Saiyans located Earth's warriors. At that point, we get a sense of the power levels of the main combatants. Gohan 981, Piccolo 1002-120, Krillin 1083. Other allies also joined the fight, including Tien, Yamcha, Chiatsu, and Yajirobe. However, before facing them directly, the Saiyans planted 6 Cybermen, creatures used to test the level of their opponents. Each Cyberman faced one of the warriors. Tien faced the first, while Yamcha defeated the second. However, after dropping his guard, Yamcha was caught off guard. The Cyberman latched onto him and self-destructed, killing the warrior in one of the most memorable and tragic scenes of the saga. And that was only the first loss. The fight continued, and Krillin showed his strength by eliminating 3 Cybermen at once, with a powerful energy attack. The last one was eliminated by Piccolo, with a single blow, a sign of things to come, as the real battle had yet to begin. The situation spiraling out of control, Nappa decided to fully enter the combat, while Vegeta, already established as the true leader and clearly more powerful, remained merely as a spectator. Nappa launched an attack against the remaining warriors, and Chiotsu, in a desperate attempt to protect his allies, latched onto the enemy's back and self-destructed. Unfortunately, the sacrifice was in vain. The explosion caused no significant damage to Nappa, resulting in yet another tragic loss. Next, Tien channeled all of his power into one final attack, the Tray Beam. The technique, though powerful, also proved insufficient. Tien died from exhaustion, while Nappa continued practically unharmed. The massacre went on. When Nappa moved against Gohan, Piccolo acted on instinct and threw himself forward to protect the boy, taking the fatal blow. In his final words, he revealed a touching change. "You were the only one who treated me like a friend. I like you." This moment marks Piccolo's redemption, a warrior who until recently was seen as the greatest villain on Earth, the reincarnation of the Demon King Piccolo. Now he sacrificed himself for the planet and for someone he had learned to cherish, cementing his transition from enemy to hero. It was at that very instant that Goku finally arrived, riding his flying Nimbus, and intervened at the last second to save Gohan. He asked Krillin to take the boy away from the battlefield, ensuring his safety. It is worth noting that with Piccolo's death, Kami also disappeared, and with him, the Dragon Balls ceased to exist. This meant those who had died up until now could no longer be resurrected. The decisive battle against the Saiyans began. Goku, upon seeing the state of the battlefield and the loss of almost all his friends, was filled with rage. When confronting Nappa, he revealed a level of power that surprised even Vegeta. Even so, Nappa pressed forward with everything, using his full strength. However, Goku dodged with ease, showing no effort at all. Vegeta quickly realized Nappa was at a disadvantage and ordered him to stand down. Infuriated at being discarded, Nappa tried to attack Gohan and Krillin from behind. Goku then used the Kaioken effectively for the first time. With his speed and strength amplified, he defeated Nappa with ease, sending him crashing to the ground in front of Vegeta. Displaying cold indifference, Vegeta eliminated Nappa without hesitation, destroying his body with a single blow. In his view, a useless warrior did not deserve to live. Goku proposed that they move to a different location to fight, to avoid further destruction, and so began the final confrontation of this saga, Goku vs Vegeta. During the duel, Goku used the Kaioken at different intensities, first at level 2, then level 3, pushing his own limits in search of equality against Vegeta's superior power. Even with all that effort, Vegeta remained dominant. His power exceeded 18,000 units, making him, at that moment, stronger than Goku. The only way to level the playing field was to risk the Kaioken X3, which finally put some pressure on the Saiyan Prince. At the height of the combat, Vegeta attempted to destroy Goku and the Earth with his most powerful attack, the Galactic Gun. Goku responded with a Kamehameha amplified by the Kaioken X3, creating a devastating clash of energies. With no other option, Goku elevated the technique to Kaioken X4, managing to overpower the attack and strike Vegeta directly. However, the cost was high. The extreme effort caused serious damage to Goku's body, leaving him practically unable to continue fighting. Even injured, Vegeta had not yet been defeated. With the original moon destroyed, Vegeta created an artificial version using his own energy, a technique known as the Power Ball, and transformed into a great ape, multiplying his power by 10. Sensing the new moon, Gohan sensed the danger and returned to the battlefield with Krillin to help Goku. What followed was a massacre. Vegeta, in his great ape form, completely dominated the fight and overwhelmed Goku mercilessly. Gohan and Krillin tried every way they could to strike Vegeta's tail, the weak point of the transformation, but their attempts were frustrated one after another and hope seemed increasingly distant. The unexpected turning point came from Yajirobe, who until then had remained hidden at the sidelines. Taking advantage of a moment of Vegeta's distraction, he appeared suddenly and, with a precise blow of his sword, cut the Saiyan's tail, forcing him to return to his normal form. Even weakened, Vegeta remained conscious and determined to keep fighting. While the enemy focused on attacking Gohan, Goku gathered what remained of his vital energy and transferred it to Krillin, allowing him to form a small spirit bomb. With Gohan's help, the energy sphere was launched at Vegeta and managed to hit him squarely. However, the attack, though effective, was not enough to finish him off. It was at that moment that Vegeta noticed something troubling. Gohan's tail had grown back. Desperate, he tried to prevent the boy from seeing the artificial moon still active in the sky. Before he could, Yajirobe once again stepped in, striking Vegeta from behind and giving Gohan enough time to complete his transformation into a great ape. Vegeta tried to escape from the uncontrolled beast and managed to cut off Gohan's tail to force him back to human form. However, during the transition, Gohan lost his balance and fell from a great height, landing directly on top of Vegeta. The impact partially crushed him, leaving him gravely injured, and at last out of combat. Nearly out of strength, Vegeta crawled to his remote control and activated his space pod, summoning it to escape from Earth. At that moment, Krillin grabbed Yajirobe's sword, ready to finish him off once and for all. But before he could act, Goku intervened and stopped him, asking that they spare the enemy's life. This act of compassion, a hallmark of Goku, contrasted sharply with what Vegeta would have done if the situation were reversed. Even so, the decision to spare him would have important repercussions in the future, just as had happened with Piccolo some time before. Humiliated and defeated, Vegeta left Earth swearing revenge. The planet was finally saved from the Saiyan invasion. However, the victory came at a high price. Many allies had been lost, and with Kami's death, the Dragon Balls had ceased to exist. Faced with the impossibility of using Earth's Dragon Balls, a major question arose: how to reverse all the deaths caused by the Saiyans. The answer might lie beyond our planet. Krillin recalled something important that the Saiyans themselves had said. Piccolo was in fact a Namekian, an inhabitant of Planet Namek, and it was possible that Dragon Balls existed there as well. With this hope, they contacted King Kai, who confirmed the existence of Namek and provided its coordinates. Bulma calculated the distance and concluded that, with current Earth technology, the journey would take more than 4,000 years, even with the most advanced spacecraft available on Earth. Krillin then tried an alternative, reusing one of the dead Saiyan's pods, activating it by remote control, but the plan went wrong and the pod exploded. Fortunately, there was still one last card up their sleeve. Mr. Popo remembered the spacecraft that had brought Kami to Earth many years earlier. He took Bulma to where it was hidden. Since Popo understood the Namekian language, he managed to activate the ship's systems, which were still functional. To test its speed, they made a quick trip to Jupiter, and the result was surprising. The ship was fast enough to reach Namek. Bulma gradually learned to operate the technology and even began to understand the alien language. With everything ready, she set off with Krillin and Gohan, now recovered from the previous battle, on an interplanetary mission in search of the Namek Dragon Balls. Meanwhile, Goku remained hospitalized, slowly recovering from the serious injuries sustained in his fight against Nappa and Vegeta. On the other side of the galaxy, Vegeta arrived at Frieza Planet number 79, a base of Frieza's empire, where he was also treated. Upon recovering, he realized he was stronger, the result of a unique Saiyan trait. Every time they survive after being on the brink of death, their battle power dramatically increases. This phenomenon is known as Zenkai. The same type of evolution occurred with Goku, who felt his strength growing as he recovered. In parallel, Vegeta discovered that Frieza, the ruthless galactic conqueror, had also learned about the Namek Dragon Balls. This happened because of the trackers that Nappa and Vegeta himself had been using, equipment that ended up revealing valuable information to Frieza's empire. Aware of this, Vegeta immediately headed for Namek, determined to gather the balls before his former master. But who exactly was this Frieza? Frieza was an intergalactic tyrant. He invaded planets, destroyed civilizations, and recruited the most promising survivors, usually still children, to form his army. This was precisely how the Saiyans came to serve him. Frieza was also the one responsible for destroying Planet Vegeta and killing King Vegeta, Vegeta's father. Since then, the prince had been forced to serve under his orders, while harboring a deep hatred for him. Already on Namek, Frieza quickly collected 4 of the 7 Dragon Balls. Shortly afterward, Vegeta also arrived on the planet, almost at the same time as Bulma, Gohan, and Krillin landed. From that point on, a dangerous race for the balls began. Frieza's soldiers quickly detected Vegeta's presence, and also another group with suspicious energy levels that were concealing their key. It was the Earth's warriors. 2 of Frieza's henchmen were sent to investigate and ended up finding Krillin and Gohan. The duo was quickly defeated, but the confrontation completely destroyed Kami's ship, cutting off any chance the heroes had of returning home. Meanwhile, on Earth, Yajirobe delivered Senzu beans brought from Korin's tower to Goku. With that, Goku recovered completely. Reinvigorated, he sought out Dr. Brief, Bulma's father, who had been studying the wreckage of Nappa's pod. Using the knowledge he had gained, the scientist developed a custom space capsule for Goku, adapted to take him to Namek. During the journey, Goku didn't waste a second. He configured the ship's internal gravity to increasingly higher levels, pushing his body to the limit in intense training sessions. His goal, to maximize his battle power and prepare for the formidable enemies awaiting him on Namek. On Namek, we were introduced to the Grand Elder, the oldest among the surviving Namekians. Just like Kami on Earth, he was the creator of that planet's Dragon Balls. Were he to die, the balls would disappear immediately, just as had happened with the Earth's balls. Both he and Kami were the only survivors of a disaster that had once nearly wiped out the Namekian race. It fell to the Grand Elder to repopulate the planet. Among his children were Nail, an elite warrior, and Dende, a young Namekian with a rare and valuable gift, the ability to heal wounds, something essential for Goku's allies. When Vegeta arrived on the planet, he was immediately confronted by Kiwi, but eliminated him with ease. He then faced Dodoria, another of Frieza's subordinates, and also came out victorious. Before dying, Dodoria revealed a shocking piece of information. The destruction of planet Vegeta and the extermination of the Saiyan race were deliberate actions by Frieza, who feared the emergence of the legendary Super Saiyan, a mythological figure whose power was feared even by the strongest. Meanwhile, Goku was en route to Namek aboard the capsule built by Dr. Brief, making use of every second of the journey to train under increased gravity. At the same time, in the other world, the warriors who had died in the previous battle, Yamcha, Tien, Chiaotzu, and Piccolo, began a rigorous training regimen under King Kai's guidance, in preparation for a possible return to life. Back on Namek, Vegeta found one of the Dragon Balls and hid it, planning to steal the ones Frieza had and use them for his own ends. However, Frieza sent his subordinate Zarbon to stop him. Zarbon had a monstrous transformation that released his hidden power. In the first confrontation, he easily defeated Vegeta. Frieza discovered that Vegeta had hidden a ball. He ordered that Vegeta be taken to his ship for recovery in a regeneration chamber. What Frieza hadn't expected was that Vegeta would recover so quickly, and even stronger, thanks to the Saiyans' ability to dramatically increase their power after recovering from near-death experiences, the so-called Zenkai. As soon as he awoke, Vegeta stole the balls that had been in Frieza's possession and escaped. Shortly afterward, Gohan found the ball that Vegeta had previously hidden, but decided to hide it, keeping its whereabouts secret. Zarbon confronted Vegeta again shortly after, but this time the result was different. Vegeta won, even against his opponent's monstrous form, making his power evolution clear for all to see. With 6 of the 7 balls in hand, Vegeta set out in search of the last one, precisely the one he had hidden earlier. Along the way, he crossed paths with Gohan, unaware that the boy had the ball. Gohan cleverly hid it at the bottom of a lake, before Vegeta noticed. As soon as the Saiyan Prince realized he'd been tricked, he gave chase. Meanwhile, Krillin and Gohan, guided by Dende, were taken to the Grand Elder, who awakened the hidden potential in both of them. Gohan, being half Saiyan, was revealed to possess an impressive dormant power, one that, further down the line, might even surpass Goku's. Just when the situation seemed to have stabilized, a new threat arrived. Vegeta and the others sensed the approach of extremely powerful key signatures. Krillin even considered that it might be Goku. But Vegeta quickly realized it was not one, but 5 warriors with extraordinarily high energy levels. It was the arrival of the Ginyu Force, Frieza's elite squad. It was also discovered that Namek's Dragon Balls were capable of granting up to 3 wishes. With this in mind, an unlikely alliance formed among Vegeta, Krillin, and Gohan, who now needed to face the powerful Ginyu Force before it was too late. The group's leader, Captain Jinchu, delivered the gathered balls to Frieza, while the other members set off to face the heroes. Vegeta, still with selfish intentions, took part in the fight against Recoome, one of the most brutal members of the squad. Even using his full strength, Vegeta couldn't bring down Recoome, who got back up unharmed and counterattacked relentlessly. Krillin tried to intervene to protect Vegeta, and ended up getting drawn into the combat, while Gohan, for his part, faced Recoome directly. However, the power difference was glaring, and Gohan, despite his courage, could not stand up to the enemy. At the peak of the tension, Goku finally arrived on Namek. Sensing his friend's energy, he wasted no time and headed straight for the battlefield, arriving in time to save Gohan from a fatal blow. Recoome tried to show off his strength and unleashed his full ki, but Goku brought him down with a single punch, leaving everyone stunned by his new level of power. Seeing Goku's overwhelming performance, Vegeta began to wonder whether he truly was the legendary Super Saiyan, the one whose existence had always been shrouded in legend and fear. Meanwhile, Frieza managed to recover all of the Dragon Balls, including the one Gohan had hidden. With all 7 gathered, he attempted to summon the Namek Dragon, but failed, as, in addition to a specific command, the wishes could only be made in the Namekian language, which was beyond the tyrant's knowledge. In search of answers, Frieza found Nail, one of the planet's most powerful warriors, who decided to face him in a desperate attempt to buy time. Despite his bravery, Nail was completely outmatched by Frieza. Meanwhile, Goku faced the other members of the Jinchu force. Jace and Berter tried to attack him with combined strikes, but were easily surpassed by Goku's unbelievable speed, so fast it could barely be tracked. Shocked, the two realized they were dealing with someone on a completely different level. Then Captain Ginju himself stepped into action. His power level exceeded 120,000, but Goku activated the Kaioken and raised his strength to over 180,000, making it clear who the stronger fighter was. However, Ginju still had an ace up his sleeve, his body change technique, one of the most dangerous abilities in the Dragon Ball universe. Ginju deliberately wounded his own body, and, with his technique, managed to switch bodies with Goku, taking on his power. Using the new form, he made his way to Vegeta, Krillin, and Gohan. Krillin ran to greet who he thought was Goku, but Gohan quickly sensed something was wrong. That was not his father. The battle began. Jinyu, now in Goku's body, faced the allies, but had difficulty fully controlling the new body. Jinyu tried to face Vegeta and ended up being defeated with ease. Jinyu, cornered, attempted to use his switching technique again, but this time Goku, despite being injured, interfered and managed to return to his original body. Furious, Jinchu tried one more swap, this time aiming for Vegeta. At the last instant, Goku quickly acted and threw a Namekian frog into the path of the beam. Jinchu ended up swapping bodies with the amphibian, permanently trapped in the form of a frog. With that, the feared Ginyu force was defeated, and its leader ended the fight as a mere frog. Gravely injured, Goku was placed in a recovery chamber inside Frieza's ship, where he would need about 50 minutes to fully recuperate. Meanwhile, Vegeta, demonstrating a rare dose of camaraderie, gave Saiyan armor to Gohan and Krillin. Krillin set off toward the Grand Elder with the goal of finding out how to summon the Namek Dragon. Along the way, he found Dende, who not only knew the required language, but also knew exactly how to make the wishes. They returned to Frieza's ship, where the balls were gathered. With Dende's help, they finally managed to summon Purunga, the majestic Namek dragon, whose imposing and muscular appearance contrasted with that of Shenron. Unlike Earth's dragon, Purunga could grant 3 wishes. At that moment, King Kai made contact with the warriors to advise them on which wishes to make. The first wish was for Piccolo to be resurrected, which also brought Kami back to life, restoring Earth's Dragon Balls. This decision proved strategic. With the balls restored, the other dead could be resurrected later. However, there was an important limitation. Shenron could only revive someone once, those who had already been brought back before, as would be the case with Krillin in the future, could not be resurrected again by the Earth's balls. Purunga, on the other hand, had no such restriction. The second wish was for Piccolo to be transported directly to Namek, allowing him to immediately join the fight against Frieza. Although the wish was for Piccolo to be transported to Namek, he ended up appearing in an isolated region of the planet, far from the rest of the group. There was still one last wish to be granted, and the intention was to use it to bring Piccolo to them. However, before they could complete the plan, Vegeta awoke and tried to force the others to use the wish for his own benefit. At that instant, Porunga disappeared. The reason? The Grand Elder of Namek passed away, causing the Dragon Balls to temporarily lose their power. Shortly after, Frieza arrived on the battlefield, determined to finish off the warriors. To do so, he began to reveal his true power, taking on his second form, more robust with imposing horns. In this form, he brutally impaled Krillin's body with his horns. Overcome with rage, Gohan attacked Frieza and even managed to knock him back momentarily. Meanwhile, Dende used his healing powers to save Krillin. At that point, Piccolo finally appeared and stepped in front of the others, declaring that it would be him who faced Frieza. It was then revealed that, on his way there, Piccolo had fused with Nail, a fusion that dramatically amplified his power. With this new strength, Piccolo began fighting on equal footing with Frieza in his current form, with ki surpassing 880,000. But Frieza was still far from showing his full potential. He decided to evolve once more, taking on his third form, Monstrous, with features reminiscent of creatures from science fiction films like the Xenomorphs in Alien. Frieza's power now surpassed anything the Namek warriors had ever faced. Faced with this desperate scenario, Vegeta bet everything on a bold plan. He asked Krillin to hit him with enough force to leave him on the brink of death, then counted on Dende to heal him. Since Saiyans are immensely strengthened when they recover from grave injuries, the Zenkai effect, Vegeta believed he could reach a new level of power. The plan worked, but even that was not enough to match the enemy. Frieza then revealed his final form, his perfect state. Realizing that Dende was the one healing the warriors, Frieza coldly eliminated him. With his transformation complete, Frieza reached an unimaginable level of power, making him practically invincible to all present. The only one with real chances against him was Goku, who was still in the recovery chamber. In the meantime, Vegeta decided to face Frieza alone, but the confrontation was one-sided. Frieza dominated him with ease, evading his attacks only to mock him. In this moment, the contempt and hatred Frieza felt for Saiyans became transparent, fueled by an old fear and by the legend of the Super Saiyan. Finally, Goku recovered and headed to the battlefield. Vegeta, gravely wounded, used his last moments to implore Goku to avenge their race and bring down Frieza, revealing that the tyrant was responsible for destroying Planet Vegeta and massacring their people. As a cruel response, Frieza launched an attack that pierced the prince's heart, ending his life, and so began the long-awaited showdown, Goku vs Frieza. Goku unleashed the Kaioken at level 20 and fired a devastating Kamehameha. Frieza, though surprised, managed to withstand the blow, though with difficulty. However, the extreme use of the Kaioken took its toll. Goku's body began to suffer the side effects of the technique. Meanwhile, in the other world, members of the Jinyu Force, now dead, appeared on King Kai's planet. Although they still caused some confusion, they were quickly defeated by Yamcha, Tien, and Chiatsu, who showed they had greatly evolved during their post-death training. Back on the battlefield on Namek, Goku realized only one option remained: to use his most powerful technique, the Spirit Bomb. He began gathering energy from all living beings around him, from the planet, from space, and even from other worlds. The accumulated energy formed a colossal sphere, and when finished, Goku hurled it at Frieza. Frieza tried to resist, but was engulfed by the overwhelming force of the Spirit Bomb. The explosion that followed opened an enormous crater in the planet, and for a brief moment, everyone believed the threat had finally come to an end. But Frieza survived, even gravely injured. He launched a ki blast toward Goku, and Piccolo, in a heroic act, stepped in front and absorbed the blow, falling near death. Then Frieza did not hesitate. He lifted Krillin into the air and cruelly blew him up before Goku's very eyes. This scene of extreme loss was the trigger for the transformation that would change everything. Overcome by uncontrollable fury, Goku awakened a new power. His ki exploded into a golden aura. His hair stood on end and shone like gold. Thus was born the legendary Super Saiyan. Aware that he no longer had the advantage, Frieza resorted to a desperate move. He concentrated an immense amount of energy into a sphere and hurled it at the planet's core. Namek was doomed. Only 5 minutes remained before its total destruction. Meanwhile, on Earth, with the help of Mr. Popo, the warriors gathered the Dragon Balls created by Kami and summoned Shenron. The first wish was for all of Frieza's victims and his soldiers' victims on Namek to be brought back to life, which included the Grand Elder. With that, Namek's Dragon Balls were restored. Back on Planet Namek, the Namekians used the newly reactivated balls to summon Puranga, their world's dragon. Frieza, panicking at the sight of the dragon appearing again, rushed to make his immortality wish, but failed because he didn't know the native language. Dende then acted quickly and made the second wish, for everyone on Namek, with the exception of Goku and Frieza, to be immediately transported to Earth. Only 3 minutes remained before the planet exploded. The battle between Goku and Frieza continued at an accelerated pace. Frieza, unable to accept defeat, created floating energy discs to hunt Goku. However, Goku dodged with mastery and redirected the discs back at their creator. Frieza was struck by his own technique, suffering severe mutilations. Despite this, Goku showed compassion. He offered Frieza a portion of his energy, hoping the villain could escape with his life. But, true to his nature, Frieza tried to attack Goku again. With no other choice, Goku retaliated with a powerful blow, leaving Frieza apparently destroyed. Meanwhile on Earth, the Grand Elder, feeling his time drawing near, passed authority over Namek's Dragon Balls to a new Elder. He revealed to Gohan an important detail. Unlike Earth's balls, Namek's could revive the same person more than once. We return to Namek. Goku tried to escape using Frieza's ship, but due to the damage caused to the planet's structure, the ship ended up falling into an abyss. Seconds later, Namek exploded in an intense light, being completely destroyed. About a year later, Namek's Dragon Balls became active again. The group used the first wish to bring the souls of Krillin and Goku back to Earth. However, Puranga revealed that Goku was still alive, and only Krillin returned. The second wish was used to resurrect Krillin. For the third wish, the plan was to bring Goku back to Earth, but he refused. With his voice echoing through the dragon, Goku explained that he was training somewhere in the universe and would return on his own. Instead, the group wished for Yamcha's resurrection. After another 130 days, Porunga was summoned again. The three wishes made this time were to resurrect Tien and Chiatsu, and to transport all Namekians to a new planet where they could start over. Peace returned, at least for a while. Gohan resumed his studies under Piccolo's watchful eye, while the other warriors continued their training. Goku remained missing, honing his skills somewhere remote. Vegeta, now living at Capsule Corporation, also set off on journeys across the universe, determined to push beyond his limits and increase his power even further. It had already been 1 year since the events on Namek, and so far Goku had not returned to Earth. Meanwhile, life here returned to normal, at least for the time being. Vegeta, who had left the planet at the end of the previous saga, returned and ended up settling in at Capsule Corporation at Bulma's invitation. Gradually, a connection began to form between the two. She showed affection and concern for him, and this closeness marked the beginning of something no one had expected. But the calm was soon broken. An extremely dark kid began to approach, and Vegeta quickly identified the energy. It was Frieza. Incredibly, Frieza had survived the destruction of Namek. His absurd resilience and ability to endure the vacuum of space had allowed his survival. He had been rescued by his father's ship, King Cold, and rebuilt with cybernetic implants, emerging as a Mecha Frieza, more ruthless than ever. His goal now was simple: to take revenge on Son Goku. Frieza and Cold headed for Earth, arriving a few hours ahead of Goku's expected return. However, before any evil plan could be set in motion, a mysterious young man appeared. Effortlessly, he eliminated Frieza's soldiers and announced that he was there to defeat father and son. With a confident air, the young man revealed something surprising. He too was capable of transforming into a Super Saiyan. Before everyone's eyes, he transformed, leaving Earth's warriors in shock. Frieza, furious, tried to destroy the planet with an energy sphere even more powerful than the one used to wipe out Namek. But to his surprise, the young man blocked the attack with a single hand, without showing any effort at all. In a desperate attempt, Frieza launched another massive attack, but ended up being completely defeated. In one of the most memorable scenes of the entire saga, the young man cut him to pieces with his sword, bringing the threat to an end. King Cold was also eliminated shortly after, and their ship was destroyed right away. Everyone watched from a distance, stunned by what they had just witnessed. A stranger had single-handedly defeated the two greatest villains who had ever threatened the Earth. After the battle, the young man revealed that Goku was about to land. The group followed him to the location where the ship was due to arrive. Bulma noticed that the boy wore a jacket bearing the Capsule Corporation logo and asked about his connection to her family. But he only said that he was 17 years old and that for now, he couldn't say much. Shortly after, Goku's ship finally crossed the skies and landed near the group. The young man asked to speak with Goku privately, and his request was granted. In the conversation, he introduced himself as someone who had come from the future, and asked Goku to transform into a Super Saiyan. Both took on their golden form and briefly do it. The young man used his sword to attack, but Goku blocked every strike with just one finger, proving how enormously he had advanced in power. In my reading of the situation, Goku was already at that point stronger than Trunks and would have been fully capable of handling what was to come. However, the circumstances of the future would show that things would not be so simple. The young man then revealed his name, Trunks, and along with it he brought an even more impactful piece of news. In exactly 3 years, two beings of overwhelming power would appear on Earth. Unlike previous threats, these would not come from other planets. They were androids, created right here on Earth by a scientist named Dr. Gero, a survivor of the old Red Ribbon Army, an organization Goku had faced as a child. Trunks explained that in the future from which he came, the androids escaped control and ended up killing their own creator. In his timeline, only he and Gohan had managed to resist the machine's onslaught. All other warriors had been defeated. Even Gohan, after years of fighting alone, had not survived, leaving only Trunks as the last surviving member of the resistance. Trunks revealed that in the future, Goku never even had the chance to face the androids because he died before they arrived due to a severe heart disease. But he had not come only with bad news. He also brought hope, a medicine from the future, developed with the medical advances of his era. Although no cure existed in the present, this medication would be able to save Goku's life. He also made an important request. that Goku keep everything secret. Any significant change in the course of events could compromise the future and even Trunks' own existence. However, Piccolo, with his sharp hearing, overheard the entire conversation and decided to share the information with the others, without revealing the young traveler's identity. Shortly after, everyone watched the time machine disappear, taking Trunks back to his era. It was at that moment that Goku took the opportunity to explain how he had survived after the destruction of Namek. He escaped in an emergency ship from Frieza's army and ended up landing on planet Yardrat. There, although the inhabitants were not strong warriors, they had mastered special techniques. The most impressive of these was the instant transmission, which Goku had learned and now demonstrated to his friends. With the android threat on the horizon, Bulma proposed a logical solution. Use the Dragon Balls to locate and eliminate Dr. Gero before he could create the androids. However, the group chose not to interfere with the timeline, preferring to face the challenges head-on. In my view, maybe Bulma's idea would have resolved everything quickly, but at the same time, it could have caused dangerous changes to the future, creating a new and even worse reality, especially for Trunks. With that settled, Goku decided to begin an intense period of training alongside Piccolo and Gohan. Krillin went to train with Master Roshi, while Tien and Chiatsu continued their sessions on their own. Yamcha, for his part, kept up his training in the city. Vegeta, determined to surpass Goku, compelled Dr. Brief, Bulma's father, to build a special room where the Earth's gravity would be multiplied by 300. Goku had trained under 100 times gravity during his journey to Namek, so Vegeta wanted to triple that challenge, and in fact, he began breaking through his own limits. 3 years passed. The trained warriors gathered at the location Trunks had indicated, an island near South City. At this reunion, we were introduced to the present-day Trunks, still a baby, in Bulma's arms. Chiatsu chose not to participate in the fight, sensing he would be of no use against enemies so powerful. Finally, the androids appeared, but there was a critical difference from previous enemies. They possessed no detectable life energy. This meant neither Goku nor the others could sense their ki. Not even the old scouters from Frieza's army would be effective in this case. In addition, these androids had a devastating ability. They could absorb the energy of their opponents, making them even more dangerous. The group split up to investigate the area and ended up finding a large city. Yamcha was the first to locate them and unfortunately was immediately defeated. The enemies introduced themselves. They were androids number 19 and number 20. Goku and the others arrived in time to save Yamcha using a Senzu beam. Then Goku proposed moving the fight away from the city, fearing for the safety of civilians. He transformed into a Super Saiyan and headed into confrontation with android number 18. At first, Goku appeared to have the upper hand, but quickly something was wrong. He began to lose his breath and strength. The symptoms of the heart disease, which Trunks had predicted years before, finally manifested themselves. Even with the warning and the medication at hand, Goku had postponed the treatment, believing himself to be healthy, but in reality, the disease had already been there, silent. Meanwhile, android number 20 prevented any attempt by Goku's friends to help. Number 19 began draining his energy and prepared to defeat him. It was at this critical moment that Vegeta stepped in, saving Goku from being eliminated. Few scenes in Dragon Ball Z are as memorable as Vegeta's triumphant entrances. During this one, he delivered one of his best lines, claiming that he had finally surpassed Goku. Honestly, I have my doubts, but he declared that he had trained in a gravity capsule with gravity 450 times greater than Earth's. It was in the midst of this brutal training, when his body was on the verge of collapse, that Vegeta finally managed to achieve the legendary power of the Super Saiyan. It was at that moment that Vegeta revealed his new power and entered the battle against android number 19. The enemy tried to absorb his energy, but had no success. Vegeta quickly turned the tables. He tore the android's arms off and at the end of the confrontation destroyed it almost entirely with a devastating explosion, leaving only the robot's head. Shortly after that victory, future Trunks reappeared on the battlefield. When Piccolo called him by name, Vegeta finally realized that this mysterious young man was in fact his own son. Trunks brought an unexpected revelation. The androids he had faced in the future were not 19 and 20. That is, his interference in the timeline had drastically altered the course of events. At that instant, Bulma's ship approached the scene, carrying Yajirobe and baby Trunks. Android number 20 took advantage of the distraction and attacked the ship before fleeing toward his hidden laboratory. It was then that Bulma noticed an important detail. Android number 20 was, in fact, Dr. Gero himself. He had transformed himself into one of the androids he had planned to create. With this discovery, the Z-Warriors set off in pursuit of Gero before he could reach his hideout. Krillin arrived first, located the laboratory entrance, and alerted the others. Unfortunately, the scientist managed to get inside in time and activated two new androids. At first, Number 17 seemed to obey his creator's orders, but the situation changed quickly when the Z-Warriors arrived at the scene. Unlike the previous androids, these two did not absorb energy from opponents. Instead, they ran on a virtually unlimited energy source, showing no signs of exhaustion or loss of power during combat. Inside the laboratory, there was still a third capsule. Inside it was android number 16, considered by Jiro a flawed prototype, but with immeasurable power, superior even to the other two. Fearing what might happen, Jiro tried to prevent his activation, but was betrayed. The tension rose when Vegeta decided to face number 18, believing no enemy or ally could be a match for him. However, his arrogance cost him dearly. Android number 18 not only withstood him with ease, but defeated him without much effort, breaking the Saiyan Prince's arm. Trunks tried to protect his father using his sword, but the blade was destroyed with a simple blow from Nakan. Nakan 17 also joined the fray and attacked Trunks. The other Z-Warriors tried to join the battle with the exception of Krillin, but all of them ended up being easily beaten. With their allies down, Krillin distributed Senzu beans to help the wounded recover. Faced with the gravity of the situation, Piccolo made an important decision. He went to Kami to propose a fusion, reuniting their forces once more to dramatically increase his power. While the Z-Warriors prepared to face this new threat with further training, the androids continued on their way and declared that their next destination was Goku's house. Continuing the android saga, Bulma set out to investigate alongside Gohan and Trunks after discovering a second abandoned time machine. The curious thing was that it appeared to have been there for many years. Upon examining it closely, they realized it was the same model used by Trunks to travel from the future, but with signs of wear and a strange cocoon inside, indicating that a creature had emerged from it recently. Trunks analyzed the capsule's system and confirmed that it had come from the future, but had arrived a year before the trip he himself had taken. Near the machine, the group found a huge empty cocoon, suggesting that the creature inside it had awakened not long before. Meanwhile, on the lookout, Kami was still undecided about fusing with Piccolo again. However, upon realizing that a new threat was emerging and attacking humans in order to absorb their energy, he agreed to the fusion. The result was a far more powerful Piccolo, who immediately set out in search of whoever was responsible for the attacks. He soon found the source of the danger, a bizarre and unknown creature called Cell, yet another of Dr. Gero's projects. There was something unusual about his energy. Cell's kitty was a blend of traces from Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, Piccolo, and even King Cold. This was because Cell was a bio-android created from the cells of these warriors, collected by tiny spy robots that Gero had scattered across the Earth. In the future from which Cell came, androids number 17 and number 18 had already been eliminated, which had prevented his evolution. To solve this, Cell killed the Trunks of that time and used his time machine to travel to the past, with the goal of absorbing both androids and reaching his perfect form. Alerted by Cell's key, Trunks and Krillin arrived at the scene of the battle. Before they could face him, Cell used the solar flare technique to temporarily blind them and escape. Shortly after, Vegeta and Tien also appeared, and Piccolo revealed the entire situation to them. Vegeta, determined, declared that he would surpass the current Super Saiyan level and defeat both the androids and Cell. In Dr. Gero's old hideout, Trunks and Krillin found the remains of the incubator where Cell had been cultivated. They destroyed the laboratory and recovered the blueprints for android number 17, which Krillin took to Bulma. Meanwhile, androids number 16, number 17, and number 18 continued their road trip by car, heading for Goku's house. Goku, for his part, recovered completely after taking the heart disease medicine. Aware of the imminent danger, he decided to train with Gohan in the hyperbolic time chamber, an environment where time passed differently. One day inside was equivalent to 1 year in the outside world. Since only 2 people could enter at a time, Vegeta and Trunks were the first to use the chamber. While the training took place, the androids finally arrived at Goku's house but didn't find him. They then headed to Master Roshi's place, where Piccolo, Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin were waiting. Piccolo decided to face the confrontation alone. No 117 accepted the challenge, while the other two watched. Thanks to his fusion with Kami, Piccolo had reached a new power level and began unleashing his full potential during the battle. Although the androids didn't emit Kaishi, Cell sensed Piccolo's energy and deduced that they were together. He headed for the location of the fight. Meanwhile, Bulma worked from number 17's blueprints and developed a remote control that could deactivate the androids from a distance. The goal was to prevent Cell from absorbing them and reaching his final form. Cell, upon arriving, immediately moved to attack number 17 with the intention of absorbing him. However, number 16 stepped into his path and began to fight him. Cell tried to absorb number 16, but failed. The android was entirely mechanical and was not part of his planned evolution. Even so, thanks to his regeneration ability, Cell managed to overcome Naruto 16's resistance and in the end, absorbed Naruto 17, triggering his transformation into his second form. Now far more powerful, he turned his attention to his next target, android Naruto 18. In an attempt to contain Cell and buy time for the androids to escape, Tien launched multiple blasts of his powerful tri-beam. The extreme effort completely exhausted his strength, causing him to collapse shortly after. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Goku used instant transmission from the lookout to rescue his ally. Along the way, he also found Piccolo, still alive, who revealed he was preparing for a new confrontation with Cell, intensifying his training. Meanwhile, Krillin went to Bulma and picked up the remote control she had created to deactivate the androids. The problem was that the device had a very short range, less than 10 meters. In parallel, Trunks and Vegeta finished their training in the hyperbolic time chamber, now more powerful than ever. Bulma found them and gave each one new combat armor. With the preparations done, father and son set off to confront Cell. Vegeta took the lead, and, with confidence renewed by his new power level, initiated the battle. During the confrontation, he completely dominated Cell, humiliating him and making it clear that, at that moment, he was the superior fighter. In a last-ditch effort, Cell revealed that if he could absorb android number 118, he could reach his perfect form, a power level that would surpass even Vegeta's. The pride of the Saiyan Prince, his greatest asset as a warrior, ended up turning against him. Curious to face a stronger opponent, Vegeta allowed Cell to continue his evolution. At that moment, Krillin found android number 18 hiding, but hesitated to use the remote control. In the end, he couldn't bring himself to press the button. Seizing the opportunity, Cell located the android and absorbed her, initiating his final transformation. Thus was born Perfect Cell. In his new form, Cell returned to the fight against Vegeta and easily turned the tables. His power was overwhelming. Vegeta, desperate, decided to use his most devastating attack, the Final Flash. The explosion was so intense it threatened to destroy the planet and hit Cell directly, blasting away a good portion of his body. However, thanks to the regeneration granted by Piccolo's cells, Cell fully reconstituted himself and defeated Vegeta, leaving him unconscious. As Goku's genetic heir, Cell also possessed the Saiyan ability to grow in power after surviving intense battles. Trunks, seeing his father defeated, awoke a new form that went beyond the Super Saiyan, focused on raw strength. However, this new state came with a cost. Trunks' speed was seriously compromised. The lack of agility proved to be his downfall, and he was beaten by Cell. Even so, the villain spared his life. Cell then announced a tournament, the Cell Games. He informed everyone that he would give the warriors time to prepare, but that if no one could defeat him, he would destroy the Earth entirely. With that, all the heroes gathered at Kami's lookout, awaiting Goku and Gohan's exit from the hyperbolic time chamber. When father and son returned, they changed clothes, and then Goku used instant transmission to teleport directly to Cell. There, he confronted him, asking that he not attack anyone else until the tournament began. Cell agreed, and Goku returned to the lookout, revealing that he had no plans to go back to the hyperbolic time chamber. His new plan was to train Gohan in a different way. About 9 days remained until the event. Goku proposed that he and Gohan remain in Super Saiyan form the entire time, so their bodies could get used to the state and learn to control it naturally without strain. During this time, Goku remembered that the Dragon Balls would need to be gathered. However, since Kami had fused with Piccolo, a new guardian of the Earth was needed for the balls to function again. So Goku traveled to New Namek and brought back Dende, a young Namekian chosen to take on the position. Already on Earth, Goku began the search for the balls. In time, the warriors gathered for the big day, It was then that Mr. Satan appeared for the first time, a martial artist known for fooling the public with his supposed feats. He proclaimed himself humanity's savior, but was nothing more than a joke in front of Cell, who sent him flying with ease. At last, the Cell games began. Goku was the first challenger, and the clash between the two was breathtaking. At the height of the fight, Goku fired a powerful Kamehameha that managed to disintegrate much of Cell's body. However, the villain regenerated quickly, because his core, located in his head, remained intact, and as long as that part was preserved, he could fully reconstruct his body. As the fight progressed, Goku began to show clear signs of fatigue, something that did not go unnoticed by Vegeta. Observing the situation, he muttered with frustration, "It just makes me angry looking at him. The guy's a genius," acknowledging Kakarot's natural talent. Even so, it became evident that Goku was no match for Cell, and Vegeta was right. The villain was clearly more powerful. Unexpectedly, Goku ended the fight, admitting that there was someone even stronger than him at that moment, his own son, Gohan. He would be the next to take on the confrontation. Cell, curious about the choice, decided to test Gohan. During the fight, he tried to provoke the boy and awaken his anger, hoping to see his true power emerge. Even under pressure, Gohan held back, not releasing his full potential. To push him to the limit, Cell changed strategy and began threatening the other Z warriors. Android number 16, in a desperate attempt to stop Cell, tried to activate his self-destruct mechanism, but failed. Bulma had removed the explosive device during repairs. The android was destroyed, with only his head intact. Cell then created the Cell Juniors, smaller but extremely powerful versions of himself, and sent them to attack Goku's allies. During the chaos, number 116's head fell near Mr. Satan. Despite being scared, he carried it over to Gohan. In a final effort, the android's head transmitted a message to Gohan, asking him to stop suppressing his feelings to release his rage and fight to protect the planet. In response, Cell stepped on number 16's head, destroying it completely. That was the trigger. The contained fury within Gohan exploded, and in a surge of power, he awakened a new transformation, Super Saiyan 2. The change was staggering. Gohan moved at an absurd speed, and in the blink of an eye, eliminated all of the Cell Juniors. Just as Goku had foreseen, his son was now more powerful than Goku had ever been. The confrontation between Gohan and Cell continued with intensity. At a certain point, the villain ended up expelling android number 18 and, with that, reverted to his semi-perfect form. Even with Goku's advice to finish the fight quickly, Gohan decided to humiliate the enemy, which proved to be a mistake. Desperate, Cell resolved to self-destruct and take the Earth with him. It was at that moment that Goku took a heroic action. He said goodbye to everyone, and, using instant transmission, took Cell to King Kai's planet. There, the villain exploded, causing massive destruction. But that still wasn't the end. Thanks to his regenerative ability, Cell survived and returned to Earth even stronger, maintaining his perfect form even without Naruto Kane. The Saiyan cells in his body had made him more powerful after nearly dying. Upon returning, Cell killed Trunks, which caused Vegeta to lose control and launch himself at the attack. Unfortunately, he too was easily defeated. With everyone in shock, Cell began charging a Kamehameha with enough energy to destroy the entire planet. The situation seemed hopeless. Everyone prepared for the worst, until King Kai, using his telepathic abilities, transmitted a message from Goku to Gohan. He was now the strongest in the universe, and had the power to save the Earth. Injured but determined, Gohan gathered his remaining energy and launched a Kamehameha with just one arm. "Die, you monster," he shouted, unleashing the attack. Even so, he couldn't overcome Cell's power, until Vegeta, in one final act of courage, attacked the villain from behind. That distraction gave Gohan the chance to unleash his full strength. His Kamehameha overpowered Cell's, and the villain was at last completely destroyed. With the threat eliminated, the Z warriors returned to Kami's lookout. There, Dende healed the wounded, and Shenron was summoned to grant 2 wishes. With the first wish, all of Cell's victims were brought back to life, including Trunks. However, Goku could not be resurrected, as he had already been brought back once in the previous saga. He then chose to remain in the other world, stating that perhaps his presence was attracting so many enemies to Earth, and that he would continue his training with King Kai. Since one wish still remained, Krillin asked for the bombs implanted in the androids to be removed, mainly the one inside number 18. Shenron granted the wish. With everything resolved, peace returned once more. Trunks went back to his alternate future, now far more powerful, he easily eliminated the androids of his own timeline and destroyed Cell before even allowing him to reach any new form. 7 years had passed since the battle against Cell, and the Z-Warriors had managed to maintain peace on Earth throughout that period. Gohan, under the influence of his mother Chi-Chi, had set aside training and focused on his studies, which honestly was a shame considering his potential. Over time, Gohan took on a new identity, the Great Saiyaman, a masked hero who fought crime in the streets. At school, he met Videl, the daughter of the legendary and fraudulent Mr. Satan, who was still taking credit for defeating Cell. At this point, we were introduced to important new faces: Goten, Goku's youngest son, and a somewhat older Trunks. Both displayed a surprisingly natural talent, managing to transform into Super Saiyans with ease. By all logic, they should have been even more powerful than their fathers, though that is still debated. And of course, nothing like a new World Martial Arts tournament to stir things up. Goten and Trunks began training with enthusiasm, and Videl also joined the training routine alongside Gohan, even learning to fly. Krillin too returned to training. He now had a new life. He worked, was married to android number 18, and had a daughter. The tournament was so special that Goku managed to get permission to return from the other world for a single day, just to participate. To qualify, participants had to measure their strength on a special machine that determined the 16 strongest fighters. Mr. Satan was the first to test it, of course. The Z-Warriors and No Mere 18, meanwhile, had to hold back to avoid destroying the equipment, which, as always, Vegeta ignored and simply shattered the machine with a punch. Classic. In parallel, a junior tournament took place, with Goten and Trunks easily dominating the competition. The final, as expected, was between the two. The fight was entertaining, and in the end, Trunks won, to Vegeta's satisfaction, who loved the idea of proving that his son was superior to Goku's. In the main tournament, mysterious characters emerged, most notably the Supreme Kai and his assistant Kibito. They were on Earth investigating an imminent cosmic threat. Also appearing were the strange Spopovich and Yamu, controlled by the wizard Babidi, the true villain behind the approaching chaos. The fights began, and one of the most impactful was between Videl and Spopovich. The confrontation was brutal, and the opponent seemed invulnerable, even continuing to fight after having his neck twisted. Videl was gravely injured, which shocked everyone. Next, Gohan faced Kibito. During the duel, at Kibito's own request, Gohan transformed into Super Saiyan 2. At that exact moment, Spopovich and Yamu attacked, using a device to drain his energy. The Supreme Kai prevented any interference, allowing the villains to escape. Also, he could follow them to Babidi's hideout. It was then that the Supreme Kai revealed the whole truth. Babuti, son of the ancient wizard Bibidi, was attempting to free Majin Buu, a demonic creature of pure evil, created millions of years ago. After causing destruction across many worlds, Buu had been sealed and his capsule hidden on Earth, which was still primitive at that time. With this new threat on the rise, the World Martial Arts Tournament ended up taking a back seat. Even so, android number 18, Krillin disguised in a costume, and Trunks continued competing in the matches. Meanwhile, in Babidi's lair, the Zeti warriors faced a new enemy, Dabura, the king of the demonic underworld. Among his powers was the ability to turn opponents to stone with his saliva, which he immediately did to Piccolo and Krillin. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and the Supreme Kai entered the lair to face its challenges. With each intense battle, Babidi collected energy to feed Majin Buu's capsule, and with the power stolen from Gohan, he was getting ever closer to freeing the monster. Noticing Vegeta's pride and explosive temperament, Babidi seized the opportunity and manipulated his mind, awakening his darker side. Consumed by his desire to surpass Goku, or rather Kakarot, as he always called him, Vegeta accepted Babidi's influence and transformed into the feared Majin Vegeta. The two were transported directly to the tournament location, where Vegeta mercilessly attacked civilians just to force Goku into accepting the confrontation. With no choice, Goku relented, and the long-awaited battle between the two most powerful Saiyans on Earth finally began. Meanwhile, in another location, Gohan and the Supreme Kai found the capsule where Majin Buu was sealed, but they had arrived too late. The creature awakened. His initial appearance, chubby and childlike, conveyed no threat, but his power was absurd. Sensing the creature's rebirth, Goku and Vegeta interrupted their battle. Vegeta proposed a truce to face Buu together, but deceived Goku and attacked him from behind, knocking him unconscious. He decided to face Majin Buu alone, in search of redemption. Inside the lair, Majin Buu had already demonstrated his unpredictability. Upon becoming irritated with Dabura, he turned him into a cookie and devoured him, one of the monster's bizarre specialties. Majin Vegeta arrived for the confrontation and, even giving everything he had, was completely dominated by Buto. Trunks and Goten appeared to help, but Vegeta stopped them. In one of the most emotional scenes of the entire saga, he said farewell to Trunks, asked him to take care of Bulma, and knocked him unconscious along with Goten. Finally, he asked Piccolo to take the boys away. Vegeta channeled all of his power into a suicidal attack, in a desperate explosion intended to destroy Buu and himself. It was his ultimate sacrifice, a gesture mixing pride, regret, and love. However, even that explosion was not enough. Majin Buu's regenerative capacity was such that, even reduced to pieces, he reconstituted himself. To truly destroy him, it would be necessary to eliminate every single one of his cells. Buu departed, leaving a trail of destruction and gravely injured survivors, including the Supreme Kai. In parallel, the Z warriors gathered the Dragon Balls to resurrect everyone who had died that day, except those with evil in their hearts. Meanwhile, Buu continued terrorizing the Earth, driven by his insatiable hunger. The Supreme Kai, in his last efforts, took Gohan to the sacred world of the Kais, where he began new training. There, Gohan received the mission of removing the legendary Z-Sword, which was supposedly the key to defeating Majin Buu. Recovered, Goku decided to teach Goten and Trunks the fusion technique, a powerful method that allowed two warriors to merge into one, combining their powers. During this period, Goku faced Majin Buu directly and revealed a new form, Super Saiyan 3. It was a colossal power that initially put Goku at an advantage. However, this transformation consumed enormous energy and drastically reduced the time Goku could remain in the world of the living. Knowing this, he ended the fight and pulled back. During this confrontation, Buu grew tired of Babbidi's orders and eliminated him. Now free, he began acting in an unpredictable manner, building a house and surprisingly demonstrating traits of gentle behavior. Mr. Satan, who tried to confront him, ended up becoming his unlikely friend, and, to everyone's surprise, this friendship revealed that there was some goodness within Buu, however suppressed. With time running out, Goku concluded Goten and Trunks' fusion training and left them practicing on their own in the hyperbolic time chamber. Upon detecting Gohan's presence on the sacred world of the Kais, Goku went to him and discovered that the Z-Sword was not as powerful as had been imagined. When the sword broke, a secret was revealed. Sealed inside it was the Old Kai, an ancient and powerful master from 15 generations past. Freed, the Old Kai decided to help Gohan awaken his full hidden power, initiating a unique training process. Meanwhile, Majin Buu lost emotional control and expelled all his evil, which took on a form of its own, a slimmer, darker, and deadlier version. The original Buu, rounder and more docile, tried to resist, but was defeated and absorbed by this new version. Super Buu was born, even more destructive and powerful. Super Buu wiped out virtually the entire population of the Earth, but curiously spared Mr. Satan, perhaps still carrying traces of his former, gentler version. Determined to face Goten and Trunks, he headed for the sacred temple. Piccolo tried to buy time, arguing that the boys needed to prepare better for battle. However, Super Buu had no patience to wait. Piccolo, with no other options, ended up guiding the enemy to the hyperbolic time chamber, where Goten and Trunks performed the fusion, giving rise to the powerful Gotenks. The battle began, and Gotenks showed his creativity with unique attacks, including the famous Super Ghost Kamikaze attack. Even so, Piccolo doubted the fusion's true ability to defeat Buu, and with reason. Fearing the fight would spiral out of control, he destroyed the entrance to the chamber, trapping everyone inside. But Super Buu, with his absurd strength, simply tore through the fabric of space and escaped, returning to the sacred temple and eliminating whoever was still there. Inside the chamber, Gotenks achieved Super Saiyan 3 form, broke through the dimensional barrier, and escaped with Piccolo to continue the combat. The fight pressed on intensely, but the fusion's time ran out, separating Gotenks. At that moment, Gohan appeared, now transformed after awakening his full power with the Old Kai's help, known as Mystic Gohan, or Ultimate Gohan. He quickly took control of the battle and surprised Super Buu with his strength, but Buu was not so easily defeated. In a clever move, he absorbed Gotenks and Piccolo, gaining a new surge of power. Meanwhile, on the sacred world of the Kais, the Old Kai made a symbolic sacrifice, transferring his life to Goku with a simple touch to the ear. Before bidding farewell, he also gave the Potara earrings, which allowed two warriors to fuse, theoretically permanently. Reinvigorated, Goku set off for Earth. On the other side, King Yama authorized Vegeta's return to the world of the living, well aware that the situation was too critical to turn down any help. With Gohan also absorbed, Super Goku reached his most powerful form yet. Hope fell on Goku and Vegeta, who reluctantly but ultimately used the Potara earrings and fused, giving rise to Vegeta, a fusion so powerful it completely dominated the confrontation. Even when turned into a piece of candy, Vegito continued fighting on equal terms, and even seemed to enjoy himself in the process. However, his excessive confidence led him to allow himself to be absorbed on purpose, with the goal of rescuing their friends trapped inside Buu. Once inside, the fusion dissolved, and Goku and Vegeta moved individually, freeing Gohan, Gotenks, Piccolo, and the fat Majin Buu, who was still present within the villain. Upon losing all the absorbed bodies, Super Buu himself underwent a radical transformation, reverting to his most primitive and dangerous form. Kid Buu, the original, pure and chaotic embodiment of evil. This was the Buu who, in the past, had devastated the Supreme Saiyans, absorbing only the most powerful of them, which had temporarily softened his destructive nature, giving rise to the Fat Buu. Now completely free, Kid Buu did not hesitate. He created a gigantic energy sphere and annihilated the Earth without warning. Not even Goku managed to use instant transmission in time to stop it. Fortunately, Kibito Kai, the fusion of Kibito and the East Kai, intervened at the last second and saved Goku, Vegeta, Dende, and Mr. Satan, taking everyone to the planet of the Supreme Kais. Kid Buu, even after the destruction of the Earth, survived and continued devastating planet after planet while searching for Goku and Vegeta. He even attacked King Kai's planet, which forced Goku and Vegeta to increase their ki to lure the enemy to the Supreme Kai's planet. This time, they refused the idea of fusing again, preferring to face Kid Buu individually. Goku was the first to confront the threat, and the battle that unfolded became one of the most memorable in the entire series. Kid Buu proved to be above Goku's Super Saiyan 3, leaving the fate of the universe in an extremely precarious situation. The strategy then was to gather the energy of all beings in the galaxy to create the powerful spirit bomb. Using Namek's Dragon Balls, the Earth was restored along with its entire population. Goku asked everyone to raise their hands and donate a little of their energy, and Mr. Satan played a fundamental role at that moment, encouraging people to cooperate. After all, he was still alive thanks to the Kai's intervention. Meanwhile, Vegeta did everything he could to distract Kid Buu, subjecting himself to a true punishment at the villain's hands. Mr. Satan also tried to divert the enemy's attention, but a curious detail was that Kid Buu could not bring himself to attack him, due to the residual influence of the fat Majin Buu that still remained within him. This internal struggle caused Kid Buu to expel the fat Majin Buu, finally freeing himself from any external influence and becoming completely pure in his evil. This change ended up being favorable for the Z warriors, as the fat Majin Buu, even weaker, began to oppose Kid Buu in order to protect his allies. A battle of endurance followed, with Vegeta, Majin Buu, and even Mr. Satan trying to buy time for Goku to complete the Spirit Bomb. It was one of the most emotional scenes of the saga. Goku, with the Spirit Bomb ready, launched it against Kid Buu, who initially managed to resist the impact. At this crucial moment, Vegeta had the idea of asking the Dragon Poronga to restore Goku's energy. Renewed, Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan and finally managed to power the Spirit Bomb with his full strength, striking Kid Buu head-on. Before delivering the final blow, Goku recalled the entire battle against Majin Buu and, with compassion, wished for the villain to be reborn as a good person, so that one day they could face each other in a fair duel. Shortly after, all of Kid Buu's cells were destroyed, and he was defeated forever. And so the galaxy returned to a period of peace, with all the warriors and important people alive and safe. The story moved forward 10 years. A new world martial arts tournament began, and among the competitors was Oob, the human reincarnation of Kid Buu, exactly as Goku had wished to the dragon. Impressed by the young man's potential, Goku decided to train him personally. He said goodbye to his friends and set off alongside Oob, bringing the epic saga of Dragon Ball Z to a close. This was the complete summary of Dragon Ball Z, the main anime responsible for the worldwide popularization of anime, and to this wonderful work, here is my tribute. This summary took a lot of work to put together, record, and edit. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.